Alex Milkett, and I'm joined here today by the Big Fish.
Hey there.
And the Notorious STF.
It's Steven.
Yeah, whatever. So today on the show, we're tackling the enormous concept of reality, specifically our acceptance of reality and what that means for us. In the movie The Truman Show, the controlling mastermind Christoph is asked why his actor/prisoner, Truman, has never realized his entire world is set for a show. Christoph responds by saying,
"We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that."
Is it true that we're just taking our world for granted, that our reality is wrong?
It's an interesting concept, Alex, that our version of reality may not actually be real, that we are blindly accepting a lie for the truth and never even questioning that lie. Our very perception of the world may be faulty.
I'd like to bring the example of Plato's cave into the wall. 3 prisoners chained facing a wall see nothing but shadows cast by a fire burning behind them. They have lived like this their entire lives. Eventually, one of the prisoners is released and sees a new world where people and animals alike roam free. When he returns to tell the prisoners, they do not believe him, as the shadows are all they've ever known. The shadows are their reality. Had the released prisoner never been allowed to see what the world is truly like, he too would have perceived the shadows as reality for the entire duration of his life.
So the prisoner's reality is determined by their experiences in life, even though those experiences don't represent reality?
Exactly. They accept their reality because they have no evidence that their reality is false. This displays the broader truth that Christoph tells his audience, that we accept the world we are presented without questioning it.
For a more modern example, look at the 1999 film The Matrix, where most of mankind has been imprisoned in a virtual reality program. Since they are in the program from birth, nobody questions that the Matrix is reality. They simply accept it.
Additionally, in The Matrix, a character named Morpheus asks,
"What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain."
So, essentially, our reality is just our mind interpreting what it senses, not necessarily based on any fact or truth.
So what you're saying is that we accept our reality to be real, even though it may be completely false?
Yep.
How would we even know if our reality wasn't real?
By someone else showing us. Like in The Matrix, Neo can't escape from the Matrix until Morpheus and Trinity show him the way out. Or in The Truman Show, Truman doesn't begin to realize that his world is a lie until his dad shows up and he begins hearing and seeing things that don't make sense.
That is true, but we also have to test our reality by ourselves. There's a Chinese fable called Jing Di Zhe Hua, or The Frog at the Bottom of a Well, that tells of a frog who has lived his whole life at the bottom of a well. One day, a turtle finds the frog's well and pulls him up out of it, revealing to the frog that the world is much bigger than the tiny well the frog had been living in.
So the frog needed someone else to show him reality, just like the Big Fish, aka Riley, said?
Yes, but in Chinese culture, the frog isn't a hero like Neo or Truman. He's an ignorant fool who accepted what he had instead of trying to discover something beyond it. In fact, calling someone a well-bottomed frog is an insult in China. So it's important to explore and test what truly is reality instead of just accepting what we see, even though it goes against our nature.
But at least we can find the reality, so there's hope for us, right?
Well, yes, Alex, but there's another problem we haven't discussed yet.
Oh?
Yes, that everyone else in our reality may not accept us if we try to escape from it.
Exactly. In The Truman Show, when Truman is beginning to doubt the truth of his reality, look at his wife's response. She tells him that,
"You're not right in the head. You want to destroy yourself, you do it on your own."
And his best friend Marlon gets angry with Truman for implying that Marlon is lying to him.
So the people around us who still accept our reality won't believe us when we discover that our reality is a lie, and will try to prevent us from escaping reality?
Yes. Going back to Plato's cave, the second half of the story describes what happens when one of the prisoners is brought out of the cave to see the light. The prisoner realizes that the shadows he's been seeing for his entire life were not actually reality, but when he is returned to the cave, the other prisoners don't believe him and think that he is blind. In fact, if that prisoner tried to free anyone else, the other prisoners would kill him to keep him from blinding anybody else.
Wow, that's pretty harsh.
Well, I find this scenario similar to the episode Eye of the Beholder of Rod Serling's series The Twilight Zone. The audience is led to believe that the main character is horribly disfigured and her face is covered the entire episode, but when the bandages are finally lifted from her face, the audience sees that she is beautiful only to be met with cries of disgust from the surgeon and other characters in the episode because their faces are revealed to be disfigured and ugly. To us, the reality of beauty is one way, but their reality is very different and even incompatible with that.
So to people who have a differing view of reality than us, we should seem just as crazy as the characters in the show or the unenlightened prisoners seem to us, which would cause them to not believe anything we have to say and try to get us locked up in a mental institution.
Exactly.
So to sum up what you two have just said, if our reality wasn't real, we probably wouldn't ever question it, even though we should, because we have never experienced anything to contradict our view of reality. And if someone were to show us the truth, everyone around us would think that we were off our rocket and would probably end up in a padded cell wearing a straitjacket.
Yep.
Pretty much.
That is horrible. Absolutely horrible.
Well, unless, of course, you're just an actor on a TV show or trapped in a virtual reality prison or your memories have been implanted or you're just dreaming or something like that that you don't know about, in which case escaping would be a pretty good idea.
But I'm not, so...
Are you sure?
Pretty sure. Well, I'd like to thank our guests, the Big Fish and the Notorious STF, Steven, for coming on the show tonight.
Oh, the pleasure's been all mine.
Are you actually sure this episode even occurred?
Shut up, Steven. Thanks for tuning in, listeners. Tune in next week where Steven will be on the show again and we'll be discussing the traumatic effects of being exposed to people more intelligent than yourself. And from all of us here at the studio, good evening, good afternoon, and good night.